The brutal war between the CJNG and the Sinaloa Cartel. Silence is present in the streets of Mexico, while tension seizes the inhabitants of the region. Rumors run from mouth to mouth, news arrives in fragments, the truth is hard to discover. There is talk of a confrontation, of an unprecedented conflict between the most powerful cartels in the country, Sinaloa and Jalisco Nueva Generation. Smoke and bullets have taken over the city, while citizens fear for their lives and those of their loved ones. The media, the authorities, and the citizens have no more information than the newspaper headlines and the rumors heard on the streets. But what everyone knows is that these cartels are considered the most powerful in the country, dating back decades. The founding of the Sinaloa Cartel by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, Ismael El Mayo Zambada and Juan José Esparragosa in the 1970s, and the arrival of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel led by Nemesio Segura Cervantes, alias El Mencho, in the 2000s, they have left a mark of violence and terror throughout Mexico. Both cartels are engaged in drug trafficking, including the production of methamphetamine and the deadly fentanyl that has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives around the world. In addition, they are responsible for public insecurity and violence that has left a trail of pain in the country. Tension continues to escalate across Mexico as people fearfully await the next move by these powerful cartels. Welcome to the place where the most shocking crime stories come to life. Where mystery and history come together to tell us unique events of the most famous outlaws. Today we present to you the history of the CJNG and the Sinaloa Cartel, the two most powerful cartels that are at war right now. Do not forget to leave your like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos. Let's get started. Violence continues to be the norm in Mexico, where drug cartels have challenged the state on more than one occasion. The Sinaloa and Jalisco Nueva Generation cartels have been the protagonists of terrible events in the country, such as the seizure of Culiacan in 2019 to free Ovidio Guzman Lopez, son of Chapo Guzman, all by the CDS. And the assassination of several important figures in the political and judicial field in 2020, such as the murder of federal judge Uriel Villegas and his wife, the former governor of that state, Aristotle Sandoval, and the attack against the Secretary of Citizen Security of Ciudad de Mexico, Omar Garcia Harfuch. The power struggle between these two organizations has intensified recently, especially in the state of Zacatecas, where drug distribution is key due to its geographical position. Despite the government's efforts to combat drug cartels, the situation in Mexico seems to be getting worse and worse. Not only have they taken control of several states in the country, but their tentacles extend even beyond the borders. El Mencho and El Mayo Zambada are two of the most important figures in these criminal organizations, and their struggle to maintain and expand their territories has generated unprecedented violence. According to the DEA, the Sinaloa Cartel is very well organized and controls 15 of the 32 states of Mexico. As for the Jalisco Nueva Generation Cartel, it is the fastest growing cartel and dominates 23 states. However, according to some analysts, its influence goes far beyond these geographical limits. The sale of drugs and their transportation to the United States is one of the main sources of income for these organizations, and both fight to maintain control over these territories. In the Mexican Pacific, there is the border city of Tijuana and the states of Sinaloa, Jalisco, Sonora and Michoacán, where the Lázaro Cárdenas port is located, through which some supplies for criminal organizations enter. It is where many ships from Asia, particularly China, embark with the ingredients used to make drugs such as methamphetamine. The Sinaloa and Jalisco Nueva Generation cartels manage relationships with criminal organizations from all over Mexico, allowing them to cover almost the entire country. But their alliances are not only with illegal groups, but also with public officials, members of the armed forces and politicians, as well as with Mexican businessmen and private individuals. Drug politics makes the issue of drug trafficking and the crimes associated with it go further, since the country's political groups also seek control of territories and even populations, to force people to vote in one direction or another. This complex situation has contributed to making the last 2 years the bloodiest in the history of Mexico within the framework of the policy of President López Obrador. Sinaloa Cartel is one of the most powerful in Mexico, especially on the northern border with the United States, where Ismael El Mayo Zambada has great influence. Despite the fact that the Sinaloa and Jalisco Nueva Generation cartels are the strongest, there are other criminal organizations operating in Mexico, such as the Gulf Cartel, Los Zetas, the Beltran Leyva Cartel, Los Caballeros Templarios and the Familia Michoacana, among others, who also fight for control of the territory and distribution routes. In this context of violence, the López Obrador government faces great challenges, such as the case of the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel in Guanajuato, which does not want to abandon the drug trafficking business. The complexity of the situation in Mexico is such that criminal groups not only fight among themselves, but also seek political and economic control of the country, creating a situation for Mexican citizens who live in a climate of constant insecurity. In more recent events, in December 2022 the CJNG threat to a leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, Mario Gonzalez, has sown panic in Los Altos de Jalisco. People fear for their lives as criminal groups clash and violence grips the region. Drug blockades and vehicle fires are the new normal, and citizens feel trapped in the middle of a war that does not belong to them. CJNG message, in which it apologizes for the terror caused, but warns that it will continue the war until Mario Gonzalez and all those who support him are eliminated, is chilling. The threat is clear: the criminal group will not stop until they achieve their goal, regardless of the consequences. Citizens wonder how many people will have to die before this war ends. In the midst of uncertainty and fear, no one knows who is friend or foe. Neighbors look at each other with mistrust, and every movement on the street is cause for suspicion. The situation is chaotic and people feel abandoned by the authorities. Protection promises ring hollow as violence escalates. Meanwhile, Mario Gonzalez continues to be the target of the CJNG. His life hangs by a thread, and no one knows if he will survive the war that has been unleashed against him. The man, identified as one of the main operators of the Sinaloa Cartel in Los Altos de Jalisco, is a clear target for the criminal group with the 4 letters. The DEA, concerned about the increase in fentanyl and methamphetamine trafficking, has created a special team to go after the Sinaloa Cartel and the CJNG, which have been identified as the main threats against the United States. However, the task is not easy, since these organizations operate in more than 40 countries and take advantage of corruption and the lack of rule of law in some of them. This task force is using advanced methods and tools to mine information and develop a strategic plan to globally locate members and associates of each cartel. Despite recent achievements, such as the capture of leaders of these criminal groups, the DEA recognizes that its work is hampered by persistent corruption in countries such as Mexico, Honduras, Colombia or Haiti. Despite efforts to crack down on these organizations, much remains to be done, and the danger they pose continues to grow. Drug cartels continue to expand, and the fentanyl and methamphetamine trade continues to cause catastrophic harm in communities across the United States, Mexico, and the world. The creation of this special team is only the first step in the fight against these criminal organizations. There is still much to do and many obstacles to overcome. Will the DEA be able to end these global threats and restore peace and security to affected communities? Only time will tell. And so we end this report. We hope you liked this story about the brutal war between the CJNG and the Sinaloa Cartel, 2 of the most powerful cartels in Mexico that are at war right now. Do not forget to leave your like, subscribe to our channel and leave your comments so that we can continue bringing you stories about the criminal world like this one. Thanks for watching, until next time.